So, World 15, it's been a bit of a mission. If you haven't seen my other videos, I've already picked a northern team, I've picked a southern team. I'm now trying to combine them to make an ultimate team. Pretty much mission impossible because to do this, you have to cut half of the best players in the world, uh, which is tough. There's no right way to do it. It's my 23. It's definitely not the correct 23, but hey, I like these players. It'll be different from everybody else's, but here we go. I'll give it a crack. Yeah, like I said, if you haven't seen the other two videos, I went into a bit more depth and looked at some kind of honorable mentions there. So check those videos out if you haven't already. But for this one, Loosehead, it's Kits off up against Healy because those are the guys I picked for my North and South teams. I have gone with the Ginger Ninja. Pretty tight, but I've gone with Kits off. So he gets a few turnovers. He always has a really good work rate. Scrummaging is good. Healy, not Keely, still makes the bench ahead of Tuina Kwafe and Smith. So still keeping them and cutting their backups. Hooker, I had Girardo and Marks. Girardo kind of the tackling machine. Marks the turnover machine. I've gone with Marks. I figure turnovers are a slightly more difficult thing to come by. We've got plenty of other guys in the team who can tackle, but turnovers are a bit more X factor. That being said, Girardo's still on my bench ahead of Taylor and Ken Owens. So it's Marks and Girardo, with Marks getting the start. His lineout gets criticised, but hey, it was the best in the Rugby Championship, the South Africans. So either all of the Southern teams are bad or it wasn't all that bad as people make out. Perhaps the odd bad game. And if you know Bowden Barrett with this kicking, you know that happens to the best of them. Tight head prop, I had Furlong and Franks as my starters, so I have gone with Franks on the bench and put Furlong in the number 3 jersey. He is always going to start because he's probably the first name on virtually everybody's team sheet at the moment. My backups, Malherba and Sinclair, don't make the cut. Locks, very, very hard. North I had Alan Wynne Jones and James Ryan. South I had Brodie Retallick and Peter Steph du Toit. I have put in Retallick and Ryan. I know Retallick didn't play as many games as some of the other guys. I figure Alan Wynne Jones and Ryan are similar-ish players in that they both do the whole massive work rate thing. They tackle like demons and they kind of lead their side in carries and all that kind of stuff that just involves getting up off the ground quickly to make yourself available for more pain. But Retallick's a bit of a different player. He's more your line-out steals, more dynamic kind of hands guy. So I've gone with him to kind of mix things up. I mean, he has been World Player of the Year, so he's pretty good. The All Blacks definitely look better when he's playing. I have put Alan Wynne Jones on the bench. So the old boy gets a spot, but off the bench he's not going to be happy. But I can hear my daughter crying. She's not happy either. Wells is not happy. But he's still there. I've given the other guys the cut, but I will come back to du Toit in just a moment because number 6, North and South, I had Itoje and Vermeulen. 8, I had O'Mahony and Pocock. A lot of people said you can't play O'Mahony at 8. He's played the All Blacks at 8 before, so I'm pretty sure he knows what he's doing. Tipuric and Savia were my 7s. So it was an interesting little mix in both sides. For my final squad, I've gone with O'Mahony at 6. I've bowed to the pressure of people telling me O'Mahony needs to play at 6. But also because I wanted Savia at 7 and I stick with Pocock at 8. So I'm kind of taking a leaf out of Michael Checker's tactical book and putting Pocock at 8. Maybe a big mistake, but hey, I got to put him in there. And my backup is going to be Peter Steph du Toit, another tackling machine. So he goes in there. So some of my other guys, Itoje, Vermeulen, Tipuric, and my backups, who were CJ Stander and Pablo Matera, do not make the side. But Savia in at 7, he's been very dynamic. O'Mahony, whether he's at 8 or at 6, is always going to do that X Factor stuff as well. Line-out steals, turnovers, tackles at the right moments, and Pocock. despite having the knees like an 80-year-old man, he's had lots of knee problems. He's still one of the best players in the world, so I'll put him in there at 8. Good thing about a Mahoney is he's so good in the line-out. You can afford to have an 8 who's perhaps not as... well, you're not going to lift David Pocock, because if he falls on those knees, it's not going to end well. And likewise, Retallick in the line-out is one of the better operators in World Rugby. So that's the forwards. Moving to the backs. Number 9, I had Conor Murray and Faf de Klerk. I have gone with Faf for this one. You can't understate his impact on the Rugby Championship. He made Aaron Smith have a pretty long night a couple of times, and was just generally impressive. He didn't have a perfect season, but then again, neither did Murray. He was injured a fair bit, so I've put Murray on the bench. I was tempted to put Perinara, because I think with de Klerk and with Murray, if you're going to play them, you probably should start them, and Perinara with his extra bulk perhaps comes on as a bit of an impact 9, but hey, I've still gone with Murray there despite my kind of better judgment. But man, when he's not injured, is he the best 9 in the world? Number 10, I had Sexton and Barrett, so that is a battle for the ages. It was a battle of World Player of the Year this year, so I've gone with World Rugby. I've put in Sexton. It'd be a bit tough to put in Barrett there when Sexton won World Player of the Year. He's just, World Player of the Year. So he's in there at 10. My midfield, I had Farrell and Jonathan Davis in my Northern team, and I had Geronimo de la Fuente and Semi Radradra in my Southern team. I've put in De La Fuente at 12, and I know I'm probably going to cop a fair bit of flack for that. How can you pick him above Farrell? Yeah, I felt a little bit nervous about picking him because I know he's a good player. All the stats tell me he's a good player. Every time I watch him, he seems to make the right decisions. But I had to go and double check his stats to make sure I wasn't making a fool of myself. Probably some people are still going to say I am. But his stats all check out, man. I even checked Rugby Pass's RPI, their player index, to see where they ranked him. They ranked him just below Bundy Aki, who, funnily enough, is not on my list, but was in my Northern video if you've seen that one. So, yeah, they rate him. He was in the top, I think it was top 10. But, I mean, you got to take a bit of that list with a bit of a grain of salt because they also had Bernard Foley in above him. So, I mean, since when was Bernard Foley one of the world's best inside centers? Never. But, yeah, Geronimo de la Fuente, man, like I said in the Southern video, he does everything really well. He's never the top guy for missed tackles. He's one of the top tacklers. He's one of the top line break guys. Defenders beaten. He's got gas. He does pretty much everything. Likewise, Jonathan Davis, I've put him in at 13. That's one of the most consistent midfields I've ever seen. It doesn't have a big battering ram style player, but both of them can do it as part of their kind of all-round package. So that's why I've gone with those two. I have put Farrell on the bench, so he is going to cover Sexton at 10, and he can also cover 12 if needs be. So the rest of the team, getting towards my outside backs. So for my Southern team, I had Rico Ioane, Patixia Talgi, and Israel Folau. For my Northern team, I had Jacob Stockdale, Johnny May, and Stuart Hogg. So I have gone with Stockdale on the left wing, Rico Ioane on the right wing. And I know people don't like guys playing out of position. Rico Ioane's played on the right wing before. Don't worry about it. I'm a Blues fan. He's played on the right wing for the Blues before. He's played in half the Blues backline position. So he's still going to do a job. That's perhaps, like the other teams, I kind of had a big man, a little man, which is what some of the teams like to do. You know, you got your big power winger on one side and perhaps a slightly more agile guy on the other wing. I've kind of gone with two power wingers there, but those are just two of the best wingers in World Rugby, so what am I going to do? And I have gone with Hogg at 15. I initially put Folau, but with a backline of De La Fuente, Davis, Stockdale, Ioane, and Folau, outside Sexton, I figured none of those guys are really renowned kickers of the ball. I mean, Folau played AFL, but to no great success. So I've put Hogg in there. Hopefully he can work with Sexton there as that kind of second playmaker when needed. For that last spot on the bench, I have gone with Emiliano Boffelli. He was one of my bench guys in my Southern team. He was in the same position on the bench. I've put him there. He can cover wing, he can cover fullback, he can jump into the midfield if absolutely needed. He's got a huge boot on him to take very big long-range kicks. He's got power, he's good in the air. He's unlucky not to be at 15 himself, to be fair. So yeah, I initially had Barrett there, but I want Boffelli. I don't need 3 guys who are more used to playing 10, I suppose. That would be a bit different. So, hey, that's my team. I've had to cut out a lot of guys. And, yeah, the alternative one, which is the guys I just cut, could probably do just as well. Like I'm also cutting Perenara and Pollard and Finn Russell. Yeah, there's really Ben Youngs, Teddy Thomas. So I've cut a lot of guys. I did count up the numbers at the end, and I don't usually do this, but I sometimes get comments at the end of the videos. People are like, oh, you picked this number of this country and this number of that country. I never actually count them. I always just pick the players. And I mentioned to somebody else that there's probably part of my subconscious saying, don't pick all Blacks, because you're an All Blacks fan and it would look a bit funny. But I did count for the South. I picked 4 South Africans, 3 of them get a start. 4 New Zealanders, 3 of them get a start. 1 Australian and he starts. 2 Argentinians, 1 of them gets a start, to make 11 players, and then the other 12 are North, so it's pretty much an even split. If my subconscious is doing that to me, it's doing a very good job. Ireland, 7 players, 5 of them starting. Wales, 2 players, 1 of them starting. Scotland, 1 player, 1 starting. France, 1 player not starting. And England, which is a bit of a surprise, only the 1 player and not starting. So, yeah, I was a bit wieldy with the old axe on some of the English boys apparently. But either way, for better or for worse, that is my team. You guys can let me know your thoughts. If anybody else wants to put their own 23, I always like looking at that, because it gives me a bit of insight. Some of you guys, for the other videos, picked better 23s than me. Yeah, kind of great minds watching the channel more than producing it at times, I suppose. I should also give a quick shout out to some of the guys that you guys mentioned in my North and South videos in the comments that I didn't have at all in my videos. And that's Hugh Jones, probably deserved a spot in there for sure. Leona Nakarawa from Fiji deserved a spot. I should say this team doesn't have any Fijians, which is the number 8 team in the world, which is probably a bit of a travesty as well. Matteo Minozzi from Italy. He didn't play in that Italian game I saw with Australia. They had Hayward at fullback for that one, but I'll keep an eye out for him in the Six Nations. And despite the fact that I did mention him in my Southern video, Ben Smith, a lot of people were concerned that I didn't pick Ben Smith in my starting team. Fair call. He is one of the most consistent and just all-round best players in the world. Despite getting on, he's still got the gas of a much younger man, plus a really elusive running style. But yeah, that's my team. Like I said, you guys do let me know your thoughts. Do let me know your 23 if you've got one in your head. I know it's tough to pick a 23, so give it a go if you're keen. And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.